Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kazmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. National President of Ghana Bar Association, Efo Agate, calls for a reconsideration of suspension of Beatrice Adu as Chief Justice, noting that it set a bad precedent for the country. Also coming up, Togolese government blames media and individuals outside its territory for ongoing civil unrest, confirming the arrest of several individuals, including foreign nationals, amidst ongoing civil protests in the country. We'll bring you the very latest on this. And much later, journalists in Ghana to go to the polls to elect new executives to steer the affairs of the country's Journalists Association for the next 3 years. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the government of Togo has issued a statement on events in the country over the last few days, blaming the media and individuals outside its territory for the ongoing civil unrest, confirming the arrest of several individuals, including foreign nationals, amidst ongoing civil protests in the country. Violent scenes have erupted in Togo as thousands of citizens hit the street, demanding an end to almost 6 decades of rule by the Nyasingbe family. The protests have been ongoing for days. Protesters have been met with brute force from security officers following the rebel against the Nyasingbe family, which has ruled Togo for over 50 years, first under Eyadema Nyasingbe and now his son, Faure Nyasingbe, who has been in power since 2005. We'll be connecting with our correspondent, but first, let's bring you some more regarding the dynamics of politics in Togo. In 1967, there was a coup led by Eyadema Nyasingbe, who ruled for 38 years and died in 2005. Now, after his death, Faure Nyasingbe, his son, took over. And then Faure Nyasingbe, the son of Eyadema Nyasingbe, won the 24th April 2005 polls. Now, he also was re-elected between 2010, 2015 and 2020. Now, in 2024, there was that controversial constitutional reform which was passed, and this law that was passed allowed Faure Nyasingbe to stay in power beyond his current term by transitioning to a ceremonial presidency with broad powers. And as I just told you, between June 5 and 6, protests erupted in Lome against the constitutional changes. Also, security forces dispersed protests on the 26th of June 2025. Now, the protests are demanding that Faure Nyasingbe resigns. Also, security forces have been dispersed against protesters. Again, the regime has been accused of turning presidency into a monarchy. Between the 27th of June and 28th of June 2025, security forces have raided homes allegedly. Internet access also reportedly disrupted. Opposition leaders demanding ECOWAS intervention. Let's have a quick conversation with Faisal, our correspondent who joins us live on the phone. He is by the Togo border and he's been gathering some information for us. Abdul, just tell us really what does the government statement say? What more beyond what I just read?
Well, so the Togolese government on Sunday, 29 June, released a statement accusing some individuals and persons out of its territories for using misinformation, and relying heavily on AI-generated content to fuel protest, hatred, and violence against the state of Togo. These persons, the statement indicated that have been arrested so far. The arrests, according to the statement, indicate that some of the individuals arrested are foreign nationals. but it is silent on the identity and nationality of these persons. Government, from the look of things, remains adamant and silent on the key economic and social issues that citizens and the youth are citing for the civil protest. In all, government is attempting to say that, of course, the ongoing protest in the Republic of Togo is largely fueled by persons who have political interests and want to see this government go down.
Now, I know that you're closer to you're in Lome, actually, closer to Lome. What can you tell us as regards what's happening there this morning, what you've picked on this development so far?
Okay, so the protest has been put on hold, but right after this statement came up yesterday, there have been indications also that tomorrow the youth will turn the streets again to continue with the protest. Do not forget that between the period and now, there have been widespread reports of beatings and human rights abuse across the streets in Loma. Government is also silent on these very happenings. They seem not to really want to bring this to the fore, because the statement largely talked about how they use the police and security forces to control and take care of the situation on the street. But all that we have seen and heard in terms of the disappearance of people, in terms of the human rights abuse issues, the beatings that we have seen, government is not talking about that. There have also been reports of some dead bodies found in a river in some parts of the country. Government is saying that these deaths and bodies found from the water bodies have nothing to do with the protest. They indicated that after some investigations and autopsy reports indicate that these bodies died from near drowning. As to how the people are drowned in the rivers, government is also silent on this.
And I know you just told us that the protests have been suspended, but the youth intend to return to the streets tomorrow. Do you have information as regards whether or not the government intends to meet members or leaders of the protesters?
Government doesn't appear to want to meet anyone, because my sources tell me that from the look of things, government is not in any way interested in the real issues. For instance, we talk about the economic issues, the rising unemployment and the issue of standard of living. If you take a closer look at the statement carefully, none of these surface. It's obvious that government is closing an eye on it, and is the reason why they do not intend to want to meet the leaders of the protesters. I tell you, when you get to the Aflao border and every other checkpoint along the border here, screening has been tightened so much that movement in and out of Togo is becoming extremely difficult. If you get to Kojovia Copper, that is just the immediate part of the border on the Togo side. When you are crossing from Aflao, it's just a few distance away from the National Assembly. So you are not able to go beyond the National Assembly, and that brings for the conversation about trade activities as well, Beatrice. A large number of our people are engaged in cross-border trade activities, particularly those in the communities along the border, the Aflao areas, the Georgia Kanu areas. Between the period and now, trade activities have gone down. Women who trade across the border are not able to cross for fear. Some because when they get to the border, the screening exercise is more unusual, and so they are staying back. And so that also is affecting trade activities across the border, Beatrice. And
you just answered my next question there. Thank you very much, Abdul Faisal there, who is a correspondent monitoring what's happening in Togo, a neighboring country for us. Let's have a quick conversation with international relations expert and lecturer at LESIAD, Dr. Ken Ahosu. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
We had a reporter telling us earlier that if you listen to the protesters, they have a number of concerns, including gross human rights abuses, killings, and of course, the last one he talked about, economic issues. How do the latest protests reflect deeper governance or democratic challenges in Togo in the midst of what I just mentioned?
Well, largely that's the case, whereby since independence, if we should put it that way, apart from Olympio's presidency, it has been Eyadema family, father and son, who has been ruling till now. But most importantly, the challenge has been with economic development, whereby jobs are not available. People graduate from schools and they don't have any opportunity. And it is only a few people who enjoy the realities of the day in Togo. So these are the challenges. However, the argument of what is ongoing should be put in perspective. Is it proper that whether a government has been in power unconstitutionally or stretch the constitution to endure in power, if that citizens can come onto the street and just ask the government to step down? Not long ago, during President Akufo-Addo's regime, Ghana took the initiative and negotiated the differences, and Foreign is still in power. So this is the dynamics. Togo has been a problem in the sense that human rights abuse have always been present. But the present crisis is such that it is difficult for either the AU or ECOWAS to just come and say, your people want you to step down, for that matter, relinquish power. So I think what Ghana, ECOWAS, and probably the AU has to do is to have a dialogue with the president and the government, particularly concerning the abuse of human rights in Togo.
And how would you want them to address that? Because you've just partially answered this question I was going to ask you about how you expect ECOWAS and indeed foreign affairs ministers to intervene in this, because you already admitted that where it has reached now is quite difficult.
Yeah, what has to be done is to engage the leaders of the opposition or those who are leading the demonstration and the government and call them to negotiating table. What is important is to hear the demands of the opposition or the people who are demonstrating. And I think it's only proper that the Yadema family hands over the reins of power to more competent people that can transform the economy and accommodate more people, create jobs, and let everybody feel that it's a Togolese. But the streets should not be the way forward. What is most important is that countries like Ghana, ECOWAS leadership, and the AU should immediately intervene, call on all the parties to stop the violence and go to the negotiating table. But as I said earlier on, this has been perennial crisis. Whenever they go to the table and negotiations are made, the Yadema family still remains in power. So I don't know how different things can be now. Probably what has to be done is that the electoral process that may follow, international observers would have to be more prudent, more observing to the extent that the malpractices that goes on, whereby it is always the government that is elected, we could probably see a change when it is properly monitored.
Dr. Kenahosu, thank you so much for speaking to us. And you heard Dr. Kenahosu. He's an international relations expert and also a lecturer at LESIAD. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Some 14 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll tell you more about what the president of the Ghana Bar Association is saying as regards the suspended Chief Justice, Getu Tokono. Don't go away.
Freezer, get the Abba. Adama for the Abba. A freezer. Adama, a Kwafosemensia. Adama, make my sorry. Can you know? Over Moasia. I do for Nobium Unum and San last night. I tell what we did was here. Adama for you from what we say. Yet you drew back up a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what you know fugum. What the bus here? If we be anywhere, what you have, I put it say, over Timono. Then we sure say. Mention Tassia. No matter for now, freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Tassia, a bastion do so among Ammoniaji. How much did I mean? Me was sika. Did me. But you men do maybe some do. Adama, what that Adama no kuya. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for edwe bi baby bia ye ton cry ho edwu. Afi kayo na kenkan enchoya ewo edre ho.
Day News on 3FM 92.7. Now, the national president of the Ghana Bar Association, Efo Agate, has called for a reconsideration of the suspension of Beatrice Adu Tokonu as Chief Justice, noting that it set a bad precedent for the country. She's cautioning against settling scores endlessly and urged for the judiciary to be insulated from interferences. Efo Agate made the remarks at the 43rd anniversary remembrance service of the 3 High Court judges who were murdered in 1982.
We should be careful as a nation not to go down the slippery slope of endless revenge by justifying various acts with the refrain, but others did that too. We then rose as a nation from the ashes like the phoenix and decided to conscientiously do better by making Ghana's democracy and penchant for the rule of law admirable and attractive to many worldwide. An independent judiciary the judiciary's foremost attraction should be its glaring independent nature. It is hoped that any superior court judge will be well apprised of the entire process before ever being subjected to sin in the spirit of fairness. Rising to the defense of the judiciary's independence is the mandate of the Ghana Bar Association, and this is not personality driven.
Of the newly vetted appeals court judges, I should say, who were vetted for the position of Supreme Court judges. But essentially, what Madam Efo Agate was stressing on was that she indicated that in the spirit of reconciliation, the consideration of the suspension of the embattled Chief Justice Beatrice Adu Tokonu should be heeded. She indicated that as it stands now, the families of the victims of that, the just and preventive justices, have forgiven the perpetrators, although they have not forgotten. And so in that light, the government, if I should put it that way, or the committee, essentially the president should reconsider his Chief Justice Adu Tokonu. She talked about the fact that and raised concerns of what she described as a slippery rope of endless revenge by the political actors justifying various acts with a refrain, but others did that too. She indicated that there's a need for the country to depart from revenge acts by the political class and using things to get things done. Also indicated that it's in bad light if the judiciary is roped into the entire thing, especially interference by the political actors. And so what about Tokonu, the ambassador to Chief Justice, should have suspension should be reconsidered. Now, on the back of that, the guest speaker of the day, Most Reverend, the ambassador, forgive me, the guest speaker of the day indicated or called out the GBA and indicating that there's a need for them to also do some form of review, because as it stands, it appears the GBA has been politically exposed, and so they also need to look inward and make sure that they are not complicit in everything that is happening for the betterment of the country.
Yes, and Lord, before you go, was there any correlation, was she asked, that's in the president of the GJA, to give the correlation between the murder that happened in 1982 and what's happening with the current suspended Chief Justice?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
I was asking whether the president of the GBA was asked the question about the correlation between the murders in reaffirming the police's commitment to combating crime.
Weapons and ammunition recovered from various suspects include a Taurus pistol, AC 721513, loaded with 4 rounds of 9mm ammunition, an MP CAL 9x19 mm pistol, number 11501418, a Joseph pump action shotgun, number 8782 with 33 rounds, a Bruni MOD 92 Autocal 8mm pistol, number 180921, a Ricol 15-0924 pump action shotgun, and a single barrel shotgun. During interrogation, suspect Kwejo Che Bafo confessed to participating in the robberies and admitted to committing a rape during one of the operations. All suspects are currently in lawful custody and will be arraigned before court in coming days. The police command assures the public that intensive efforts are ongoing to apprehend the remaining suspect, Yahaya Nuhu. The Ashanti Regional Police Command commends the public for its continuous cooperation and remains committed to ensuring peace, safety, and justice across the region. We encourage all citizens to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to the nearest police station.
And you heard there the Ashanti Regional Police Commander, DCOP Tay Kujo. Let's speak to Ibrahim Abubakar. He's a man who monitored this press conference for us. Ibrahim joins us live on the phone. Ibrahim, what more do we need to know?
Well, for now, the residents of Ashanti region are excited with the success struck by the police, because over the past few months, there have been growing concern about insecurity in parts of Greater Kumasi areas like Buakwa, Ejuso, Iduase, Tech. Almost every week, there are cases of robbery incidents in those areas, and there were concerns, and the police had to intensify patrol to be able to chalk this success. They want that to be sustained and also intensify its investigation so that they will be able to arrest more, because they believe that this is a syndicate. These are not the only people terrorizing residents. There are many more. And for that matter, they should just intensify their intels to be able to arrest these people and make sure that there is...
And we just had a problem with the line to Ibrahim Abubakar, but thank you very much for bringing us the latest from that press conference there. Back in Accra, the minority in Parliament has called on the House to summon the Health Minister without further delay to provide updates on the resurgence of COVID-19 cases at the University of Ghana. The caucus says that the government's silence could trigger a full-blown health crisis if action is not taken immediately, indicating that the situation is spiraling out of control, fueling fear and panic in parts of the country.
To come and do the needful. I've seen the Ghana Health Service statement, and the statement is very clear in its terms. It says that the World Health Organization no longer treats COVID-19 as a health emergency. Doesn't mean that COVID-19 has ended. Once in a while, there will be sporadic recurrence of infections in some places, but it is not a threat. Indeed, the Ghana Health Service says that nobody is being admitted on account of having COVID-19, but they still encourage people, if they experience the symptoms, to report so that they can be taken care of. I believe the vaccinations went very far, and there's been a huge coverage in terms of vaccinations, and many of us have developed the capacity to resist, and if infected, to be able to survive when given treatment. So let's take advantage. But Ghana Health Service does not consider it to be a serious health emergency that should attract the kind of interventions that is being advocated.
And still on health, and Ghana has confirmed 14 more new cases of Mpox, bringing the total to 133. No deaths, no admissions, and no fatalities have been recorded. Mpox is characterized by symptoms such as fever, headache, swollen gland, and a distinctive rash. The Ghana Health Service, in its latest situational report, said that as of June 2022, 14 more cases had been confirmed with no deaths recorded yet. The general public is still encouraged to avoid close contact with anyone who has a rash, wash their hands often, and visit a health facility if they don't feel in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Mommy, take me there. Parents, mark your calendars. It's the 3FM Baby Fair happening live on the 11th to the 13th of July at Marina Mall Airport City in Accra from 10 a.m. and it's absolutely free. From baby essentials and kids wear to toys, skincare, educational material, and so much more. It's our sessions with the Ghana Pediatric Society and all the amazing mums with the Mum Circle, a safe space for young mothers to share tips and connect. And there will be fun activities for the kids with our Kids Corner, games for the family, good food, and great vibes all around. To be a vendor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927. It's the 3FM Baby Fair, your one-stop event for all your childcare needs.
3FM.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up this afternoon, fuel prices projected to increase marginally from tomorrow, July 1, with petrol going up by 2% and diesel by 5%. We'll hear from the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Also ahead, World Bank projects or approves $360 million under second Resilient Recovery Development Policy operation to boost Ghana's economic recovery. We'll bring you details. Plus, banks' bad debt recorded declines marginally in 2025 as 654.2 million cedis written off in first quarter of the year. These stories and many others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. The Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, is calling on government to scrap subsidies on marine gas oil, warning that the policy is creating incentives for product diversion and fueling revenue losses. Marine gas oil, typically subsidized for maritime use, has increasingly become a
different engines that consumes each fuel. But if the purpose for which it was established is not met, I believe it's better we go back to the drawing table and have the right thing done. And we believe that the wide difference in taxes between MGO today and the diesel, that it is the same product, will bring a lot of unfairness to the industry.
Meanwhile, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies is also projecting that fuel prices will increase marginally from tomorrow. Chief Executive Dr. Rivasino revealed that the fuel prices are expected to increase by up to 5%, marking the end of 7 consecutive price drops at the pumps this year.
Basically, we are looking at a two systems that are both very, very relevant in terms of looking at the pricing outlook. However, one thing we've seen in this country, and I believe that I can say that emphatically today, when fuel prices were going up, most of the calls I had was why the fuel prices were going up and we don't see that effort in the pump price. And that's why I always say that we are in a country where it takes time for global benchmark prices to have effect on our pump prices. So at the same time, when fuel prices are going down, please, media houses, be patient with us. That it takes time to outsell those that we had bought when fuel prices were up. in terms of the international benchmark prices. So we are looking at just 2% increase in petrol and LPG around 1%. But I think diesel is around 5%. I only check my figure, which we are concluding today. We will surely make the reports ready available.
Dr. Rivasinopon is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Now, the World Bank has given a significant boost to Ghana's economic recovery efforts with the approval of a $360 million financing package. The funding under the second Resilient Recovery Development Policy operation aims to restore macroeconomic stability, revive investor confidence, and reinforce structural reforms to future-proof the economy. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. The financing package was approved by the World Bank Board of Executive Directors and will support urgent reform areas, including fiscal sustainability, financial sector stability, energy sector discipline, and climate and social resilience. The funds will be used to deepen fiscal discipline, restore investor trust, and build a more inclusive and shock-resistant economy. The World Bank's Director for Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, Robert Taliesio, emphasized the urgency of the reforms, citing the need to entrench fiscal and debt sustainability, create jobs through private investment, and protect the most vulnerable. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen welcomed the support, describing it as a major vote of confidence in Ghana's reform journey under the IMF-supported program.